Well, burnt tips do not automatically mean you messed up nutrients. Most of the damage comes from what you do next, not the leaf. If you've ever seen brown tips and immediately panicked, this is exactly what we're talking about. The panic fix is usually worse than the symptom. Tonight, this is MyRemy Live, and tonight we're breaking down burnt leaf tips and crispy edges, why they trigger panic, and how growers accidentally make things worse trying to fix them. This episode exists because this is one of the most common panic moments I see in comments, DMs, and in shop conversations. Someone sees a little brown on the tips and assumes the cause, then makes the biggest possible correction. Plant ends up paying for that. Quick expectations. This is education, not sales. No fear, no hype, no miracle fixes, just clean diagnosis thinking so you can stop chasing ghosts. All right, if you're a beginner or early intermediate grower who has ever rage flushed, rage fed, or changed 5 things in one night because a leaf looked weird, you're in the right place. If you want a magic fix without checking anything, you're going to hate this episode. If you're new here, MyRemy is a GPT-style GrowBot assistant. It's trained on a huge body of grow knowledge, forums, user groups, websites, catalogs, books, all of it. And what it's great at is giving clear baseline answers fast, even when the questions are messy. This is not hype. We use this daily with real growers in our store, and it keeps landing because it understands grower language and real-world constraints, not textbook fantasy answers. So our website, gzgrowshops.com, is loaded with resources, but honestly, most people come here for the MyRemy access. It's totally free, available 24/7. I'll paste in the questions, then read the answer out loud, so we're all starting from the same baseline. And then I'll just give the real-world grower translation. So if you know someone who panics at brown tips, send this to them. All right, well, hey, let me take a quick pause and say hello to everybody jumping on tonight. Good to see everybody with us. All right, question number 1. This is the panic moment. You see burnt tips and crispy edges, and your brain screams, nutrient burn. You start planning a flush like you're diffusing a bomb. I get it. Tip burn is the most famous symptom on Earth. Burnt tips are a symptom, though. They're not a verdict. And if you blame the wrong thing, you fix the wrong thing. And now you've got a second problem that actually is your fault. Here's the sneaky part. The thing causing the burn might not even be the nutrients. It might be the environment or your watering rhythm quietly setting you up. So I'm going to speak into the computer here and enter the first question. MyRemy, I am growing and I'm seeing burnt leaf tips and crispy edges. List the most common causes and how to tell them apart. All right, and we will await our response. I am talking into the GPT. You might have that option. You might not if you're not on a paid plan, but you can certainly access the chat for completely free 24/7. All right, leaf tips, crispy edges, what's up? All right, MyRemy says, let's slow this down and talk it through like we're standing in a grow. Burnt tips and crispy edges are a symptom, not a diagnosis. The plant is telling you it's stressed. Our job is figuring out which stress. First up is nutrient strength or salt buildup. This is the classic burnt tip look. The very tip goes yellow or brown first, then it creeps down the edges. The rest of the leaf often stays green at the start, and if you're feeding regularly, especially in bottled nutrients, this is usually the first suspect. Your first check is simple. What EC or ppm are you feeding? And when was the last runoff check? If runoff is way higher than what's going in, salts are stacking, right? Next is pH issues or nutrient lockout. This one loves to masquerade as everything else. Edges crisp, tips burn, growth slows, but the pattern is uneven. Some leaves look rough, others look fine. You might also see weird deficiencies at the same time. First, check here. The first check here is boring, but critical. Measure the pH of what you pour in and what comes out. If those numbers are off, nutrients can't get in even if they're present. Now, let's talk heat or light stress. This usually shows up on the top of the plant first. Upper leaves get dry, taco upward, or bleach slightly before crisping. Edges feel brittle, not just discolored. Ask yourself a quick question. How close is the light and how hot is it at canopy level? An infrared temp gun or a hand test at canopy height tells you a lot. Next up, low humidity or high VPD is a quieter one. The plant drinks too fast and can't keep up. The edges dry out, the tips burn even at normal feed strength. Leaves may feel papery, and your first check is the room, not the pot. Look at temp and humidity together, not separately. If humidity is low for the heat you're running, the plant is being pulled apart from the edges inward. Next up, wind stress is a sneaky one here. It doesn't look dramatic at first. Edges dry, tips crisp. The leaves closest to the fans look the worst. If a leaf is constantly fluttering, that's too much. First check is visual. Are the leaves gently moving or are they being slapped around all day? All right, and finally, watering problems. Both over and under watering can cause crispy edges. Underwatering dries them out directly. Overwatering causes root stress, which leads to burn symptoms on top. Clues matter here. Heavy pots, slow growth, and droop point one way. Light pots, fast drying, and brittle leaves point the other. Fast check is the pot weight and the root zone moisture, not the schedule. So before you change anything, pause, check your runoff EC and pH, check your canopy temperature and humidity, look at where the damage starts on the plant, and look at what changed recently. Most burnt tips come from stacking small stresses, not one big mistake. Fix the environment first, then the roots, then the feed. Great, MyRemy going on to say, send a photo in. Patterns show up fast when you can see the leaves. All right, well, big takeaway tips are a signal, right? Not a sentence. Multiple problems can lead you in the same ugly neighborhood. Too strong feed, salt buildup, pH drift, light intensity, low humidity, wind, inconsistent watering. Same symptoms, different cause. So if your first move is changing nutrients, you might be punching the wrong guy. Before I touch the recipe, I reach for a few basic tools. I check pH first. This is the Milwaukee pH 54 pen. I just want to confirm what's actually happening before I change anything. If you're running salts, I also check EC or TDS. I like a simple infrared thermometer for leaf temp because it tells me fast if I'm cooking the canopy. So this is not about being fancy. It's about being less wrong. This is where growers usually split. Some blame nutrients, some blame deficiency, some blame heat, and that disagreement is exactly why this episode matters. All right, well, here's the pattern interrupt. Most growers do not lose yield from the symptom. They lose yield from the overreaction. All right, well, quick pause to say what's up to everyone jumping on. I appreciate everyone being here tonight. Lots of familiar faces. Shout out to Katie Fowler. A good PPFD meter helps dial in the lighting to make sure you are at the proper PPF at that PPFD meter. Thank you for bringing that one up. All right, everybody. Well, question 2. This one is personal. You see brown tips, assume overfeeding, and you flush hard, or you cut the feed to 0. You feel like a hero. Then 2 days later, the plant looks worse, and you're like, how is that even possible? If you've ever said, I flushed and it got worse, here's why that happens. I'm going to run this one through MyRemy. MyRemy, if in a grow, I saw brown tips and crispy edges, and I flushed or drastically reduced feeding. Now the plant looks worse. Explain the most common reasons flushing or cutting nutrients can backfire. All right, we will await our answer. All right, well, here's what's usually happening. You see brown tips and crispy edges. That screams too hot at first glance. So you flush or you cut nutrients hard. A totally reasonable move, but here's the catch. Those symptoms don't always mean excess food. They often mean imbalance. One common reason flushing backfires is salt shock. If the plant was already stressed, a heavy flush strips the root zone fast. EC drops suddenly. The plant goes from too much to not enough overnight. Roots hate sudden swings. They slow down instead of recovering. Another big one is pH drift. Flushing with plain or unbuffered water can swing the pH. Now nutrients aren't available even if they're present, so the plant looks worse, not better. That's not burn anymore, that's lockout. There's also the timing issue. Burned tips are old damage. They don't heal. After a flush, new growth is what tells the story. Growers look at the old leaves thinking it's failing and keep correcting. That's how things spiral. Cutting nutrients too hard can also uncover hidden deficiencies. Potassium, magnesium, and calcium are common victims. Edges crisp more. Spots begin to appear. Leaves fade unevenly. It looks like the original problem got worse, but it's actually a new one. Now for stabilization. First, stop reacting to the damaged leaves. They're not the scorecard. New growth is. Second, get back to a mild, consistent feed. Not full strength, not zero. Think light and steady, enough to support growth without pushing. Third, lock in your pH. That's non-negotiable. Soil, cocoa, hydro, it doesn't matter. If the pH floats, everything else fails. Fourth, water normally again. No more flushing, no more droughting it to teach it a lesson. Roots recover through consistency, not punishment. And finally, give it time. Plants don't bounce back in a day. If new leaves come in cleaner and calmer, you're back on track. If you keep changing inputs every watering, you never are. Okay, bottom line, flushing isn't wrong, overcorrecting is. Most plants don't need rescue, they need stability. All right, well, flushing is a specific fix, not a default response. Most of the time, people use it before they've confirmed what's actually wrong. The backfire usually happens for two reasons. One, you did not fix the actual cause, and two, you shocked the root zone and forced the plant to adjust again. If the real issue was heat, light, pH drift, or inconsistent watering, flushing does nothing for that. Meanwhile, you just changed the entire root environment and the plant is like, awesome, new stress, thanks. This is where I go into stabilize mode. I want the plant calm before I want the plant perfect. So the tools I reach for are simple. Plain water at the right pH, a light baseline feed if the plant is clearly being starved, and if the medium is stressed and the roots look unhappy, this is where I might reach for a bottle of P31 microbes, not to fix burnt tips, just to help the soil recover while I let the plant settle. This is the point where most growers realize they didn't lose time because of the problem, they lost time because of the fix. Well, now question 3. When do you act and when do you chill? Because not every burnt tip is a 5-alarm fire. Sometimes tip burn is the plant saying, I'm close to the edge, but I'm still fine. I'm going to run this one through MyRemy. Okay, MyRemy. For plants with slight burn tips or crispy leaf edges, give a simple decision framework for when to act versus when to leave it alone. We will await our response. And what's up, everybody? A whole bunch of people joining on. Awesome. Thank you guys for joining in tonight. Hope you're learning something. Here we go, baby. All right. Here's a simple way to think about burnt tips and crispy edges. First question. Is it just the tips or is it moving? If it's tiny burn on the very tip of the leaf and it's not spreading, that's usually edge of perfect. That's the plant saying I'm full. And that's in that case, you leave it alone. Overreacting causes more damage than the burn itself. Now, when do you act? You act when the burn is growing. Tips turn into margins. Margins start crawling inward, or the leaf starts curling, clawing, or drying fast. Next thing to watch is where it's happening. If it's an older, lower leaf, and new growth looks clean, slow down and observe. Older leaves are expendable. the plant is prioritizing new growth, and that's normal. If it's showing up on new growth or the very top of the canopy, that's a signal. That usually points to too much feed, too much light, or heat stress. That's when you step in. Patterns matter more than single leaves. One leaf with a crispy edge means nothing. Multiple leaves doing the same thing means something's changed. If it's uniform across the plant, think nutrients or EC. If it's only the top, think light intensity or heat. If it's random, think environment swings or drybacks. Before touching nutrients, always check the environment. Check canopy temperature, not room temp. Leaf level temp. Check humidity and VPD, and check how close the light is and if intensity recently increased. Make sure the roots aren't staying wet too long. Most nutrient burn starts as an environmental problem. Okay, when you do adjust, go small. Don't flush unless things are clearly getting worse. Don't slash feed in half. Instead, reduce strength by 10 to 15% or add a little more runoff next watering. Raise the light a few inches instead of dimming hard, and give the plant 2 or 3 days to respond. Plants don't heal damaged leaf tips. You're watching the new growth. If new leaves come in clean, you nailed it. If new leaves show burn immediately, you still have pressure. So the rule of thumb is simple. Tiny tip burn that stays put, leave it alone. Burn that spreads, hits new growth, or stacks with other stress signs, act gently. Change one thing at a time and let the plant tell you the rest. Well, here's my simple framework. If it's minor and not spreading, chill. Watch the trend, not one leaf. Keep your routine consistent. If it's moving fast, hitting new growth, or the top canopy looks like it's getting cooked, act, but act like an adult. One change at a time. Small change, then observe. Patterns matter. Where is it happening? How fast is it moving? What changed recently? Light height, feed strength, watering rhythm, a temperature swing? The plant always tells if you listen. Tools for decision making. I use a simple moisture probe sometimes, but honestly, pot weight and a consistent routine work too. I'll also glance at a VPD chart so I know if I'm running the plant in a desert or a swamp. This is how you decide when to act and when to leave it alone. So, slow down with me for a second. The one idea I want you to remember is this. Most growers do not lose yield from burnt tips. They lose yield from panic fixes. Burnt tips are a signal, not a sentence. Your job is decision making. Confirm the basics, look for patterns, make one small change if needed, then give the plant time to respond. Remember, the sneaky part from question 1, the thing that caused the burn is often not what you blamed first. Multiple causes can look identical on a leaf, and the wrong fix stacks stressed. Well, that's the payoff, guys, and if you're watching this on a replay, tell me your last panic fix moment in the comments. If you want a future episode, leave your suggestion below. Katie Fowler saying, absolutely, act like an adult. That was a good one. He's still laughing. Think calmly and clearly. Do not overreact. Usually the leaf making the plant worse. All right. Well, guys, yeah. And if you're local, we do calm troubleshooting like this every day at the shop here in Worcester, Massachusetts. No drama. Real growers, real talk, no fluff. We'll see you next week, everybody. Peace.